Hello, welcome to project management video. Now we'll discuss about organization strategy and project selection. Strategic management. It provides the theme and focus for the future direction of the firm. So it means responding to the changes in the external environment, environmental scanning, allocating the scarce resources of the firm to improve its competitive position, internal responses to new action programs. Requires strong links among mission, goals, objectives, strategy, and implementation. So, what are the key activities of strategic management process? First is review and define the organizational policy and mission. So, you look at the organizational policy and mission and review the policy and mission. Devise long term goals and objectives. Define the long term goals and objectives for the organization. Analyze and formulate strategies to reach objectives. So basically, look at strategies and develop strategies to ensure that objectives are being met, or what are the strategies you need to do so that you execute the objectives. Implement strategies through programs and projects. So all these objectives, strategies are implemented through projects and programs. Now we discuss about strategic management process. Changes in the organization's mission and strategy. Project managers must respond to changes with appropriate decisions about future projects and adjustments to current projects. Project managers who understand their organization's strategy can become effective advocates of projects aligned with firm's mission. So here what we discuss is the project managers must respond to the changes within the organization with appropriate decisions and directions for future projects and also adjustments to current projects. For example, there is some change in an objective or change in a mission vision, then they need to analyze what are the impact of the changes to the current projects and also for the future projects and make the changes accordingly. Also, managers who understand the organization's strategy can become effective advocates of projects aligned with the firm's mission. What we are basically saying is project managers not only should understand the objectives and goals, mission for the project, they should also understand the organization's strategy, why they are doing a current project, why the program, why the projects are aligned with the mission. So they need to have a bigger picture, the idea of the bigger picture of the organization's mission, vision, and strategy needs to be known for the project managers. So that is the expectation for project managers. So we discuss about the strategic management process. So this gives you the picture of how the strategy is getting converted into a project. First, you come up with the revise, review, mission statement. Then you look at your internal environment, strengths and weakness, external opportunities and threats, and based on which now you come up with the new goals and objectives. So with the new goals and objectives, what we intend to do, what do we intend to do? Basically, you convert that into portfolio of strategic choices. From that, you try to implement the strategy, and the strategy is implemented how the strategy is getting implemented in an organization. So it is basically implemented through projects. So you convert all your strategy goals into projects and programs, and projects are getting selected. And also you need to go through a project selection process, how your project is getting selected, and then finally get into the projects. What are the objectives characteristics? It should be smart. Yes, is specific. Be specific in targeting an objective. It should be specifically talking about an objective. Measurable. Whether how the how much objective, what is the percentage you have executed. They should be able to measure whether the progress of the execution of an objective. Assignable. So you should be basically able to assign the objective to a particular project manager or a senior manager, and ensure that it is completed. And also it should be realistic. What can be done with the available resources, whether it should be realistic. Basically it should not be like a objective which is not reachable. It should be realistic, and people should be able to execute the work and get the objective done. And also it should be time related. You can't say the objective will work for the next 20 years, something like that. It should be once you start the objective, you should be able to say, okay, next within 1 year or 2 years, I'll be able to complete the objectives in terms of projects. So any objective, it should be like smart, specific, measurable. You should be able to assign the objective, and also it should be realistic, and also time related. So what are the issues and problems in project portfolio management? So there is something called implementation gap, lack of understanding and consensus on strategy among top management and middle level functional managers who independently implement the strategy. So there is no implementation gap. Basically what the top management understood is not getting conveyed to the mid-level managers who implement the strategy, who may not be aware of the entire full strategy of the organization, why they are doing it. So there should be learning for the project managers, senior managers, through organizational training sessions. They should basically understand all the strategies for an organization, and also they should know how it is getting implemented in terms of projects and programs. So that will provide them motivation on why they are doing a particular project, what is the benefit for them, what is the benefit for the organization in the long term. So that implementation gap is there in most of the organizations. And also organization politics. So once the objectives are converted into projects, so projects are selected based on certain priority and choice of the senior managers. So the selection should be based on the persuasiveness and power of people advocating the projects, rather than based on certain fixed criteria and selection procedures. In some cases it works based on the persuasiveness and power of people advocating the projects. So that is a problem we face in portfolio management. The senior management is not able to basically explain why their particular project is selected, why a particular another project is not getting selected. So this can be avoided if there is a transparent mechanism of project selection, wherein a set of criteria have been given and each project is rated based on a certain weightages, and then the project gets selected based on the weightage. So next is the resource conflicts and multitasking. The multi-project environment creates interdependency relationships of shared resources, which results in the starting, stopping and restarting the project. Multi-project environment basically means people from different groups like accounts, finance, operations, or from different technology groups, DBAs, testing team, design team. So they come from different managers and teams. So they share resources from them. So it results in sometimes there is a resource conflict. They may be busy in another project. So there is a resource conflict. And also a person may be doing multiple tasks, multiple projects. So there is he starts the project and then stops and then goes to another project, does it, and then comes back and restarts this project. So there is a kind of a delay in the project. So that is also being faced in project portfolio management, where you have multiple projects shared across those projects, and their percentage of involvement, all those things needs to be factored in the beginning of the project, so that the schedule is properly put up, so that none of the slack time and other things can be avoided. What are the benefits of managing in terms of portfolio? It builds discipline into project selection process, links project selection to strategic metrics, prioritizes project proposals across a common set of criteria rather than politics or emotions. So when you're saying portfolio means a set of projects which execute certain objectives, and which is aligned with the strategies of the organization. So everybody understands that okay, this is very important because this strategy needs to be executed in the next 1 year, 2 year, so that they are strategically aligned, and also the organization is strategically better than the competition. Also allocate resources to projects than align with strategic direction. Balances risk across all projects. So if you have a program or portfolio manager, he can balance the risk, manage risk across projects, justifies killing projects that do not support organization strategy. Also you can say okay, if course of time is if you think the project is not going to help in the strategy of the organization, you can stop the project. Improves communication and supports agreement on project goals. So these are all the some of the key benefits of managing projects in terms of portfolios, where each portfolio takes care of certain objectives and strategies for the organization. So you can say compliance projects, strategic projects, operational projects. This is kind of a portfolio type of projects. So in terms of strategic projects, you are trying to execute the organization strategy in terms of projects. You have the strategy, you have the vision, mission, you have the objectives, goals. From objectives, you get into projects, and then you select the projects and execute the projects. So that executes the strategy of the organization. So compliance projects are basically, for example, you have the famous, in IT, you have the famous year 2000 problem, where they need to solve the Y2K problem. The Y2K problem is the year digit was stored as 2 digits. So year 00, 2000 is, computer considers 00 as 1900, and does crazy calculations. So the programmers need to go and say if the year is less than 20 or less than 40, then they add 20 in front of the year, so that, which is, if the year is less than 40 means the computer should think it's 2040 or 2020, something like that, and other than that it should think 1900. So this has solved the Y2K problem to some extent, but again, if you have mentioned is 40, 2040, when the year 2040, again the problem will resurface. If it is in 2020, most of them have put it to 2020. So in the year 2020, they will have to go back and change those programs or rewrite the programs, so that they fix the 2020 problem, because they have postponed the 2002 2020 problem. Similarly, in terms of compliance, you have other regulatory requirements. For example, bank, they have the Basel II norms. In insurance, you have the HIPAA norms. All those norms require the organizations to do certain um, reports, certain projects, so that they deliver the reports to the government based on the legal requirements. So these are all part of the compliance projects. Now coming to operational projects. So operational projects is comes out of a problem. You discover a problem, there is a small fix, you fix the problem, and then you try to do a permanent fix, and then you raise a change request, and then you estimate, and then you come up with a project. So basically, projects which solve the operational issues, day to day issues of an organization. For example, if the data keeps on expanding, so they need to go for a migrate the data to data warehouse, or how to handle the big data. So all those things can be part of the operational projects. So anything which is day to day process which you want to so that improve the operation day to day process, or fix the problems in the maintenance enhancements, all those projects comes under operational projects. So they are, if you look at IT organizations, most of them do 60 to 70% on operational projects for various customers, where they fix their operational issues, day to day issues in terms of IT projects. In a portfolio management, how the selection happens. You come up with a list of projects and you want to select a project. So from financial perspective, you look at payback value, what is the net present value, what is the internal rate of return. So some of the key parameters in finance. For non-financial parameters, you look at strategic importance to the organization, how much important it is for the organization. And also use the multi-scoring models, use several weighted selection criteria to evaluate the project proposals. See, if you look at payback in finance, you look at payback model, it measures the time it will take to recover the investment. Suppose you have invested 1 crore in a project and you need to find out after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years when the project is, you're going to recover the investment. How long it's going to take for you to recover your original investment to the project, whether 2 years or 3 years. Basically, your revenue and your profit should be equal to the investment amount. Shorter paybacks are more desirable. So everybody wants to reduce the payback time. They want, for example, mobile phones, they want to reduce the time to market so that they reduce the payback time, and once it is out in the market, they get the revenue faster. Also emphasizes the cash flows, a key factor in business. So it talks about what is the cash inflow, what is the cash outflow. So this model looks at that cash flows. The limitations of payback are it ignores the time value of money, because at one point of time the money, how much 1 crore it won today, it may be 1 crore 20 lakhs after 3 years or 4 years. So it ignores the time value of money. Also, it assumes cash inflows for investment period, and it doesn't consider profitability. So it, it says how much the revenue you are getting. It doesn't think about the profit, because profit is the key factor. After revenue, you need to pay all your employees, all your vendors, all your other suppliers, and then you find out what is the profitability. So this model doesn't look at the profitability. So that is the limitations. So the net present value is minimum desired rate of return to compute the present value of all cash flows. Positive NPV, the project meets the minimum desired rate of return eligible for further consideration. Negative NPV means the project is rejected if you are looking at net present value model. The initial investment I0 is negative. If you do the entire project NPV, your NPV should be positive. So this is ft by 1 plus k power t, where 1 plus r the rate of return, or k is the rate of return, power t is the time period. It's for 1 year, 2 years, or the cash inflow. So based on which you calculate the NPV. So negative NPV is straight away the project is rejected. Positive NPV means it meets the desired rate of return, eligible for further consideration. So here is an example of a project is given. We are comparing two projects based on the payback method. So payback is 3 years, here 3.6 years. So basically you will go for a project with a lesser payback period of 3.1 years. Rate of return is 32.1% here 27.5%. So you're comparing these two projects for internal rate of return and net present value. So what are the non-financial criteria you need to look for selecting a project? To capture larger market share. So you are doing this project to capture a larger market share. Sometimes your NPV may be negative, but you want to do it because you want to capture a larger market share. So still you can take it forward. To make it difficult for competitors to enter the market. So you're doing some things, spending money so that competition is not able to compete with you once you get the strategic project done. To develop an enabler product. To do something which will improve your existing product. To develop core technology that will be used in the next generation products. To reduce dependency on unreliable suppliers. To prevent government intervention and regulation. So these are all some of the non-financial criteria which we would be considering while selecting a project. So what is the checklist for selection model? Strategic alignment. Whether the organization does this project align with. So within this, what organization this project aligned with the strategy of the organization. So what are the business problem does the project solve? So that is the driver. What is the problem the project is intending to solve? So there should be a clear business problem the project needs to solve. Success metrics. How do you measure the success? How do you ensure the project is a success? It could be NPV, it could be IRR, it could be the impact in the market, it could be the sales, cash inflow, revenue, it could be based on the customer feedback. So many other things can all be put up as a success metrics or key KPIs, key performance indicators. Sponsorship. Who is the project sponsor? So who is the key sponsor? Is the senior manager, IT department, marketing department, finance department? So who is basically funding the project? Who has a key interest in the project? If the project gets executed, who gets the name? Who has a lot of stake in the success of the project? That person is the project sponsor, who gives the money, who funds the project, and then who gives the project charter to the project manager, and also who participates in regular discussions about the project, and who wants to ensure the success of the project. So project sponsor is basically senior manager or a vice president level person in a particular department or organization. Risk. What is the impact of not doing this project? You need to understand what is the impact if you don't do this project, what is the risk you are facing for the organization, for the project, for the project manager, for the senior manager, and as an organization as a whole. What is the project risk to our organization? If you do the project, what are the risks you might face in the organization? What are the risks it might trigger because of this project. That also you need to have a understanding. Also document the risks. Benefits. What is the value of the project to the organization? In terms of, it could be in terms of financial benefits, it should be in terms of other intangible benefits like customer satisfaction, capturing a new market, and other similar kind of benefits. Organization culture. Is the organization culture right for this type of project? Sometimes the project may not be culturally aligned with the organization culture. So you need to say whether the project execution, the project organization, all those things, the resources you are going to use in a project, are they aligned with the culture of the organization? Whether they understand the organization culture, whether they follow the organization culture, and they work within the framework of the organization culture. Approach. Will we buy or build? What is the approach? Whether you want to buy or you want to outsource to somebody, or whether you will build it yourself or develop it yourself within the organization. Training resources. Will staff training be required? Whether once you do the project, whether training is required, or before executing the project, whether you need to train people so that they can work in the project and get the project completed. And once it is completed, you need to train the people who are going to use the product or the project on how they need to go about executing the system, using the system. Finance. This is also a key factor. What is the estimated cost of the project? And also, when you are doing some kind of estimation, you need to ensure that you do right estimation methods. For example, function point methods or parametric methods, whether it is top down or bottom up. Top down basically means the senior management gives you the money cost for the project. Then you need to allocate the project to various divisions within the project. For example, analysis stage, design stage, coding and testing stage, implementation stage for an IT project. For other projects, it could be for a construction project. Based on the phases of the project, they need to allocate the money and budget to the phases of the project. So this finance is also a key factor. The project manager needs to ensure that the estimated cost is right. Also, he needs to have the buy-in. He needs to do the estimation himself, verify whether the estimated cost given by the senior management or the project sponsor, whether it is the right amount, whether you will be able to do within the budgeted cost of the project. Portfolio. How does the project interact with the current projects? So, how the existing project, what is this project is in terms of current projects, how it is going to be within the portfolio of the existing projects in the organization. That understanding needs to be there for a senior manager and project manager. So this is a project screening mechanism. So these are all the factors you need to keep in mind. It's not that this is the only factor you need to keep for a screening matrix. Basically what we are saying is you should have a criteria and a weightage for selecting a project. Stay within the core competencies. So whether the project is staying within the core competencies, you need to rate the project on 1 to 10. And 2 is the weightage for this particular factor, criteria. Strategic fit, how much the project is strategically fit within the organization. You may rank from 1 to 10. Urgency, how important it is, how urgent it is, this project has to be done. 25% sales from new products. So what is the criteria? Like 25% of the sales from new product. Will you be able to get 25% of the sales from the new products? Reduce defects to less than 1%. So whether this project will reduce the overall defects to 1%. Based on which you need to have the weightage. Improve customer loyalty. after executing the project, will you be able to improve the customer loyalty? What is the rate of ROI, rate of return, rate of return on investment, ROI, return on investment of 18% plus? Whether you are able to get return on investment of 18% plus, based on which you factor these things. So some one or two are the finance factors, the rest of them are uh, some quality factor, some on a customer factor, and then on a urgency, also strategic factors. All those things are built in. You can bring in some more other factors like operational factors, environmental factors also you can bring in, social factors also you can bring in, or cultural factors, organization culture also you can bring in, and elaborately put in this, and then calculate the weightage for the project. So once the weightage is calculated, then automatically based on the top weighted scores, the senior management team can select the project for further execution. So project classification and selecting a model, part of applying a selection model. So basically, you have to how well a strategic or operations project fits the organization strategy. So you need to classify the project, how strategically or operationally it's going to help for the organization strategy. Selecting a model. So that's what we discussed in the last slide. You apply a weighted scoring model to bring the projects closer within the organization's strategic goals, reduces the number of wasteful projects, helps identify proper goals for the projects, helps everyone understand how and why a project is selected. This is also very important. So all some person would have proposed a project, and the project would have got rejected. Then you should be able to explain him, okay, this is what it is. This is based on these factors. We haven't selected the project. However, this project might get selected after 1 or 2 years because the urgency or other factors might increase, and we might require this after 2 years. The organization might revisit, and based on the organization objective changes, they may require this project to be done. You should be able to explain the individuals concerned on whether your project selection is a fair mechanism, not based on individuals' relationship, persuasiveness, things like that. Now we discuss project proposals. Now, once you have identified projects, you can request for proposals from vendors or within the organizations. Within the organizations, many teams might propose. If you give a 1 crore project seed funding within the organization, the various departments in the organization, people might apply for the project, request for proposals from external sources, contractors, vendors. You ask for a RFP, so they will first they will ask you to give you RFI, request for information. They will collect all the information about the project. Then they will respond with an RFP. The RFP will have an executive summary. It will talk about what are the project objectives, what they are going to do, the scope of the project, who are the people they are going to be involved, what is the timelines, what is the cost, all those things in a 2-page executive summary. And then they'll go and explain about the project, what they are going to do, what is the methodology they are going to adopt to execute the project, what are the various financial models they are using in the project, and what is the cost, what are the estimation methods they have used to arrive at the cost, and the timelines and the budget, and what are the metrics they are going to give, what are the service level agreements they are going to have, what are the services they are going to offer as part of the project, and what are the type of contract they are going to execute, whether it is a fixed price, time and material, and other type of projects. All those things are being outlined in a request for proposal. Once an organization receives a request for proposal, they rank the proposals based on accountability, responsibility, constraints, flexibility, etc. They rank the vendors' proposals based on the methodology or solution they offered, and also they can do a vendor visit the vendors, do interviews, talk to them, understand their infrastructure, understand whether they have the right people to execute the project. Once you've done all those things, then you select a particular vendor, one or two vendors to execute the projects for your organization. So the vendor has to, once you are given the go ahead, the vendor will have to work for the project as per your project requirements and deliver as per your guidelines. So you will have service level agreements, contracts to ensure that they deliver on time. In case of delays, there may be penalty clause the will be aware of, so that they are also deliver on time. Then you have the managing the portfolio. Once you have the portfolio of projects, the senior manager and portfolio manager needs to manage the portfolio of projects with the input from senior management team and the project office team. There is a project management office PMO team which monitor the projects, which monitor the time duration, which monitor the stages of the each of the projects, what stage it is, how much, whether they are going on time, whether schedule variance, whether on schedule, on budget, on cost. Then you calculate the end value, whether they are able to deliver the objectives or project goals as per the outlined in their project plan. So this gives you a project proposal where it talks about project title, manager, project manager, a one-page document where he fills up, is it a one-time effort or reviewed by the project manager, whether it will take more than 500 hours. And project definition, what is the problem definition, what are the project goal you're trying to achieve, what are the objectives, performance, quality, benefits you expect from the project, what is the cost and what is the schedule. This is more like an executive summary. In detail, the RFPs the vendors submit or the project proposals within the organization the project managers submit needs to be evaluated. What are the three major risks for the project? What is the probability of the risk occurring? So basically, it's like a risk evaluation and risk monitoring, risk quantification. You look at probability and impact and then come up with a risk score, and then based on the higher risk score, which are highly likely to be happening and high impact, if it happens it is going to impact the organization, project schedule, delivery, things like that, then you need to have a risk mitigation mechanism for such high risks. And then what are the mitigation, how they are going to reduce the impact of the risk happening, things like that as part of the risk management profile. And what is the current start date, what is the estimated finish date, whether it is active, whether it's on hold, all those things. So this has to be divided by the project PMO office team. So managing the portfolio, senior management input, provide guidance in selecting criteria that are aligned with the organization goals, how to balance available resources among current projects. All those things needs to be given from the senior management. The priority team responsibilities are publish the priority for each project, ensure the project selection is open and free of any organization politics, reassess the goals and priorities, evaluate the progress of current projects. So basically prioritize for each project. Selection mechanism has to be open and people should be aware of why it's getting selected or not getting selected. You should be able to reassess the organization goals and priorities, and you should be able to evaluate and monitor the progress of current projects. So this is how do you screen the project. Once you have a project proposal idea, you have the data collection, whether it is strategically fit, what is the return on investment, what is the payback, all those data is being collected about the project, and all the other criteria, self-evaluation of the project by criteria, and then periodic reassessment of priorities. Priority team evaluates the proposal, reviews the portfolio for risk balance, whether is it a high risk project or a low risk project, whether you can do it. If it is on hold, then accept it, then assign priority, assign project manager, assign resources, develop project charter, and then give the charter to the project manager, ask him to start the project. And then once start, you do the evaluation of the project. This is part of the project screening process. So this is a priority analysis of each of the projects, of the weighted score, all objectives, legal, environmental standards are being met. All new products have a complete market analysis, yes or no. For each of the projects, you have the priority analysis. Immediate response to field problems, whether the project will provide immediate response, creates whether it will be able to create 5 million in the next 20 by 2020 or so. Improve external customer service, whether it will improve the customer service. All those objectives have been, which we have put in the criteria, have been put up here, and then a weighted score has been put up here. Any project you can classify into all 4 buckets. So which are high, you get high net present value, and technically feasible, high feasibility. That is the pearl. Highly feasible, and also once you do it, you have a high net present value, you get a good profit out of it. So these are all pearl projects. Some of them are oyster projects, or high, you get a high net present value, but technically it's not feasible. So there is a lot of risk involved, because if you're not able to do it technically, it might move to the white elephant, because you'll not get much out of it. Also, you look at bread and butter projects, or you get low net present value, basically low profit, but highly technically feasible. So if you look at most of the maintenance and support and projects in IT, most of the big companies like TCS, Infosys, they're 60 to 70% they'll be doing bread and butter projects, where they put in a lot of people and then deliver projects which profitability is not that high. So these are all bread and butter kind of projects, maintenance, support, operational projects basically. So bread and butter is evolutionary improvements to current products and services. So mostly operational and evolutionary improvement projects. Pearls represent revolutionary commercial advances using proven technical advances. So this is pearl. Pearl is revolutionary commercial advances using proven technical advances. You are doing state of the art new technology. For example, somebody is developing a mobile phone with 5G technology. So that is like a pearl project. Oyster projects are technological breakthroughs with high commercial payoffs. So oysters are, you get high payoffs, and technically also they are not that challenging. You're able to do it. So everybody wants to do either oyster project or a bread and butter project. So pearl projects, there is a kind of a risk involved in the sense it's highly technically challenging. You need to have the right resources and the capability to do such high-end technology works. But you do it, you have a lot of profit for the organization, a lot of customer name, and you can create new markets because you're doing some new revolutionary project which ensures that you are staying ahead of the competition. White elephant projects they showed some promise, but they are no longer viable. Basically, put more money into white elephant project. It's like a black hole. It keeps sucking all the money, and you don't get much out of the white elephant projects. With this, I stop the project selection and strategy section of project management.